This week, what's ahead for the RV industry? I've got my friend Demian Ross from RV Today magazine here to chat about all the different things that we've seen on dealer lots, and we're going to chat about what we think is happening in the RV industry. This is RV Miles. Chances are you've seen them on the road. That's because Blue Ox designs and manufactures the best towing products in the industry. Just look around. You'll find them on highways, in campgrounds, and anywhere you find people traveling in the great outdoors. From award-winning tow bars and base plates to a full line of weight-distributing hitches, adjustable ball mounts, and now they have fifth-wheel hitches too. With Blue Ox, towing doesn't have to be a drag. Visit blueox.com for more information. You've done the research, you read the reviews, you've searched the internet, you found the perfect product for you. You found that part you need, you found that accessory you need for your RV. But if you don't have the time, the right tools, or you just don't feel comfortable doing it yourself, you need to find a trusted partner to install it. Go to eTrailer.com and use their installer locator feature to find that trusted installer in your area. Once you find the product you're looking for, all you need to do is click the schedule and installation button, and eTrailer will provide you with a list of installers near you that have the experience installing the product you're looking for. The list will include bios, reviews, and photos of each installer on the list, and you can even see how many times they've installed that type of product for eTrailer neighbors. So when you need to find that trusted RV part or component installer quickly, visit eTrailer.com and use their installer locator to schedule your install today. Welcome to episode number 340 of RV Miles. I'm Jason, and Abby is out this week. She was at Taylor Swift last night and not only isn't here because she's in New Orleans, but she doesn't have a voice. So my co-host this week is good friend of the show and good friend in real life, Mr. Demian Ross, publisher of RV Today magazine. Demian, welcome.
Hey man, it's great to be here. It actually is true. We've become actually really good friends over the last couple of years. I know a lot of times when we announce people when they're on our show, we'll refer to them as our friend, and then we don't talk to them until the next time they're on the show. So yeah, we are bros, man, and I'm enjoying it.
I think we've entered this industry in very similar ways as sort of outsiders trying to figure it out. And, I think we're both sort of at this point where we kind of have a grasp on a lot of the idiosyncrasies of the ways some of the businesses in this industry operate and who all the key players are and all that sort of stuff. And it's been a really eye-opening experience for me to figure all that sort of stuff out, coming from the world that I came from doing theater industry news. So I'm curious to hear from you, your take on that, because you came from a whole different industry too, right?
Yeah, so honestly, I didn't really know anything about RVs until my mid 40s. It seemed like it was a way of cheating when you went camping as being a California person. When you go camping, if you're not staying in a cabin, which is super cheating too, you're in a tent, or you're actually just sleeping outside, kind of a thing. So I knew nothing except for probably a little bit on your side of the stuff. It was like makeup trailers, it's like where
Sure.
When you're on set, that's what you were in. But I never knew it as like an actual lifestyle, especially as a city kid. It just wasn't a thing.
You're an LA boy, born and bred, right?
Yeah. I'm LA proper. I've had people on the show and they'll be like, yeah, I'm from Los Angeles too. Oh, really? What part? Simi Valley. I'm like, stop it.
So yeah, you're growing up seeing trailers on sets. Your parents are in the Hollywood industry, right? But were you a camper at all as a kid? Did your parents take you camping?
They sent me to camp. So there was Griffith Park Boys Camp. And I think every summer I did probably 4 to 6 weeks there. And then later in life, I went to this special camp. I think some people refer to it as juvenile hall. And that wasn't during the summer, but that was an interesting camp too. But tent camping was kind of my thing in just real short bursts, really that Friday, Saturday, come back home Sunday. Kind of just a funny side note. I did a really long, a whole week in dispersed tent camping, no bathrooms. And it went from camping to a friend's wedding. And I remember getting to the hotel and they were like, I'm sorry, your room's not ready. And I've never tried to use the fact that I am a big guy and maybe I'm intimidating. I don't really try to use that in customer service, but there was something where I was like, no, my room's ready now because I need to shower. I need to sit on a proper toilet. This wasn't enjoyable at all to me. And my kids do, though. My kids love, real like tent camping, all of them, even though they're all city kids. And it's fun to watch.
So what led you into years later in your life into RV life?
So I used to always say that I invented the idea of going full-time in an RV. And clearly I did not in any way, shape, or form, except for the fact that I wasn't influenced in it at all. I knew people did it when they were retired, or at least that was my assumption then. And I thought, okay, I want to get out of California. I want to buy a big piece of land and like almost have like a ranch or a small farm. And I thought, what a better way of doing it than jumping in an RV and like moving to that area and kind of checking out the area. And then if I buy a piece of property, move the RV on the property as I build things out. Now, I found out really quickly there's, a ton of people that were doing it full time while working and making content about it. And I remember when I was looking at buying an RV, I went to, the local bookstore and grabbed the RV rags. I remember thinking it's so weird that they're segregated between motor and pole. And then, just sat back on that kind of like, it's so weird. There's so many people doing this full time. And I had no idea. Like it never came across my radar in any way, shape, or form. And then I started thinking, well, if people are doing this, at the time I had a sales job working for a social media conference. And I thought, what if I traveled in the RV to the events I'm supposed to go to, which I don't recommend letting kind of rallies or events dictate your schedule. It was so much easier to still fly to those and stay in a hotel, especially because they're usually in big cities where I didn't want to take a 42-foot fifth wheel. And I really just fell in love with the lifestyle. And so that 1 year kind of like maybe 10 state trip turned into almost 5.5 years living and working in all 48 states. And then realizing that someone needs to put together a publication about this lifestyle. And that's where, I launched Rootless Living at the time in late 2019, only because I came from a standpoint that I think when you're looking at niche media, it needs to be covered in all areas, not just, videos or social or blogs or podcasts, but there also needs to be a print form because that's just how some people consume their content. There are some people that consume it, all of that. And there's some that are just like, nah, I just want to pick up a book or a magazine. And that's how I like to learn. And I've always been a magazine guy and thought, you know what, let's try it and do it. And it was a ton of fun. And it got me that when my job ended that I had, I was able to transition so easily into this and get it up and running and make a living while traveling the country and publishing a magazine. So it was great.
So Rootless Living magazine eventually bred RV Today magazine, and you've quickly grown to be the top magazine out there for RVers. And you've been an advocate for many years for the physical, the print publication. This is an age where we call ourselves digital nomads, some of us, where we're traveling around and we're consuming all of our media over the internet. And it's particularly in the case of RVers, especially full-time RVers, a lot of us don't have mailboxes and stuff, but you've found that there is quite the desire for folks to have the actual physical magazine, right?
Yeah, so it was funny when I launched Rootless, I wasn't going to do a print issue. Like that just didn't make sense to me, even though at the time I was still receiving my, Fast Company and Inc. magazines, and, it would go to my post office box and then it would get shipped to me wherever I was in the country, and I would have those and be able to read them. But immediately we had some pushback from full timers that we would still like to get it in print. And so we did a little Kickstarter. If I raised enough money to know that I could print it for the first year, then I would do it. And we did. It sold out pretty quickly, which was great. So it kind of shocked me. And obviously I published magazines in the past. I did a skate magazine in the 90s, in and around the SoCal kind of scene. And then I did a city publication for this small kind of suburb I lived in outside of Los Angeles. And I'd never had a digital component. Both of those ended, the city publication ended in the 2008 crash. And so I never had a digital component. I thought, okay, well, even though all my print subscriptions come with the digital, I don't really like consuming content that way, but I do know of so many people that did and thought, oh, we'll just put this out there as digital. And the pushback was immediate. The other thing I didn't know is just how niche of a market it is, in the sense that I was able to cap out pretty quick, because you're taking a small niche of RV owners, and then you're reduced down to a small niche who want to get their content via either, a PDF, a reader, or in print. And even though we had a really fast growth, it just kind of stagnated for, a good year. And as I've talked about even on this show, as I started investigating whether I should, start an owner's publication, that's when I found out most of these publications were owned or really kind of almost controlled as a marketing device. And the biggest one was obviously when Camping World purchased Trailer Life and Motorhome, combined it for RV magazine is what they titled it. And, if they did a generator comparison, they would include the Harbor Freight Predator 3500, which is probably one of the most popular generators, because they don't sell it. And that's where I was like, wait a minute, that's not really journalism. And there's lots of memberships that are doing magazines too. And, I don't know if Airbnb and AAA should call their magazine a magazine, because the only people that are subscribing to it are members. When I was a chamber director, I didn't call our little chamber publication a magazine. It was just a directory guide, or a newsletter. And I think I even heard someone recently call their podcast an audio magazine. I'm like, what's going on? Why can't a magazine just be a magazine? And I have, I'm a Gen Xer, but I do have a little boomer kind of moment when it comes to magazines.
Gen Xers are turning into boomers. We've all established this at this point. But it's just the way the world turns. We just all hate young people at some point.
But I still think, it needs to be in print and it needs to be independent. Those are the two things. It can have a digital component, but it can't be to have another motivation of, kind of marketing behind it or to drive sales. The magazine is the business. And if we stop the magazine, I go out of business. A lot of these other magazines, if they stop the magazine, their other businesses keep going. And so we just wanted to educate people on that too, that we're just RVers that decided to do an RV owners publication. We're not really pushing our point of view. There is some of that, but really it's a collective. I'm just hearing what's going on. I really consider myself kind of a content DJ, but on the print form. And it's been a blast. It's been well received, like you just said. We're probably selling more print than we are digital now, which is really bizarre. But then when I see my kids that range from 23 to 33, when they are starting to dumb down their phones and they're going back to LPs, and, they're still, walking around with these hardcover books, while they're on the subway or something. It's just, I'm like, okay, so there's a little bit of this trend to get analog, and it's fun to watch, even in the younger generation.
Remember when all the Borders bookstores closed, and people thought physical books were just gone, that it was over for physical books, and now they're back again. There's been this reaction to. I would talk about this a little bit in my Black Tank too, because there's something about this that's bothering me. But there's been this turnaround, a rejection, I think, of us being forced to be digital all the time, and the interruptions of if you're reading a digital magazine on your iPad or whatever, you're getting your Facebook notifications pop up and you're getting your TikTok notifications and your email is popping up, and you're not sitting back and relaxing and reading what you're interested in reading at that moment. You're getting torn in all these different directions. And I think it's the same way with books. It's the same way with even movies to an extent. It is a digital thing to watch a movie on Netflix, but it's almost become this escape from looking at your phone or your computer, right? It's because it's a different thing that's not interrupting you all the time. When you've started publishing magazines in this industry, what was it like to start to interface with some of the folks in the RV industry? What was their reaction? How long did it take to get them to sort of warm up to you?
It's probably a good question. You need to ask me in 5 years. I think I'm still in it, to be honest with you, in a lot of ways. There's people that get it and don't get it. I think the sad thing is that this whole lifestyle was built on the backs of magazines. It really was. If you're ever in Elkhart, Indiana, you can go by the Hall of Fame. They have a library. And I think at one time, and I know I like to exaggerate, so I'll make sure, I think there was probably 12 consumer-facing publications. But I think we've kind of shifted. I remember this in 2010, where the company I was working for started bringing marketing inside, and we started doing our own marketing. And obviously that's taken off everywhere. I really do believe the RV space is really slow to kind of adapt to what's been out in like the mainstream small business. They're just it's hard to move that ship. There's some small independents that can, but for the most part, it's a lot. And at some point, I don't know if there was previous magazines that, were trying to do that clickbait thing and try to, get people excited about some sort of craziness that was going on in the space. That's not really our thing, because we're not a timely publication in any sense. You could pick up a Rootless Living and it's all relative. And people do still, which is nuts. We're not publishing it anymore, but people still listening to the podcast, still downloading that magazine. I know it's very evergreen whenever they read it. The hard part is trying to convince brands that think the only way you can get in front of a consumer is digitally. And I'll use my parents as an example. If that criteria is to have, the 70 somethings that love to travel and have, a crap load of money that they can blow, you're not going to reach my parents on TikTok. You're not going to reach them on YouTube. It's just not how they consume content. You could reach them through a print publication. And I think that's just the educational process, is how are you reaching people that are, especially right now, there's a lot of people that have shut off social until sometime, in 2025, just not to be bombarded with everything that's going on in the election. And that's the hard part, is getting them to understand it. Now, the good part that's changed for me is I believe my rates were very similar to like content creator rates when I first started out. And now content creators are asking for so much money that I'm starting to look kind of like a really good deal in a way. And so that's really been helping. And, we continue to grow and find new people and figure out, how not to get pigeonholed between one of the main kind of makers or something to that effect, and not look like, again, we're a propaganda piece for one of the top of the pyramids kind of a thing. And that's been a little bit of a battle. And we're just trying to create a different media venue for people that don't consume content the way that maybe you consume content, which I think is something marketers do. They're like, well, this is how, my generation does it. And I look at the stats and say, but your generation's not buying RVs. So why are you marketing to, that generation per se?
I think there's an element of like, say you're somebody that gets a bunch of TikToks in your feed that are RV tours, and maybe you watch lots of them. You might be somebody that's never, ever going to buy an RV. You're just like, you're interested in tiny living, or you just think it's cool to see the slides come in and out and the jacks go up and down. And if you're somebody that's paid for a subscription to a magazine about RVing and you get it delivered to your mail, either you're very interested in buying an RV in the future, and you're really looking to seriously learn about it, or you already do it and you are a very serious consumer of the industry. So I think there's the value of somebody who has purchased a subscription to a magazine is much, much higher than somebody who subscribes to a TikTok feed or a YouTube channel.
Well, I mean, I think you've talked about it too. The people that subscribe to my magazine are my readers. In like the YouTube space and other spaces, especially the YouTube space, the subscribers aren't always the people watching.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of channels are trying to get to that 50-50 mark. And some are in the 80-20, where only 20% of their subscribers are watching on a regular basis, and 80% can't even make the commitment. It's such a commitment to like and subscribe to a channel by clicking a button. I don't know the math, and I don't have the time to really do kind of the data background on what does someone paying for content that they probably, if they wanted to spend the time, could find in all these different sources, but they just want it to all come together in a nice package versus someone that just clicks, well, let's use, your idea, the tours. I bet a subscriber is the same subscriber to 6 or 7 of those tour channels. That's what they enjoy. So when someone's like, wow, we got 1 million views on this channel and 1 million views on this channel, I'm like, I bet it is 1 million, and it's maybe there's only 20,000 new on this channel and maybe 30,000 new on this channel, because it's a lot of the same people. And not to say that people subscribe to my magazine don't subscribe to other RV magazines, because I think that's the same thing going on. But to your point, the two things I really like that I try to educate is, if someone comes back and rereads the magazine and sees the same ad they've already seen, you're not paying again for them to see that ad. When you have someone, to your point, that's like on YouTube that really doesn't have an interest of buying everything, every time they see that ad, you're paying for that ad. The other thing that I've it's my hill that I'm trying to do for 2025 without losing business is just say, stop with QR codes in print. People are buying these to be offline. Why are we telling them, okay, no, you got to get out your phone and now you got to scan it? Especially, I think you and I talked about this after the keynote with Apple with this, visual intelligence. Pretty soon you'll be able to scan anything and go to the website if you want to, whether it's live out in the world or if it's in a print publication, you'll just be able to scan it and boom, you'll be able to find it. So I think we're going to see QR codes outside of I think QR codes are great, like manuals and things like that. I mean, if I'm having a problem with my level system, I wish the QR code to a video was right there, kind of a thing. But that's the big thing I hear from people is we subscribe to print to disconnect, to your point that you brought up.
I wonder if you would know better than me, but QR codes seem to be so large. And like on a magazine page, they take up a decent amount of real estate, right? And I would think that at some point they're going to be smaller than a dime to where maybe you don't care as much whether it's there. But, advertising, there's this push towards advertising to be so interactive now. Like I keep getting these things on our Roku that are like, this is an interactive ad. Press the button to interact with this ad. I'm like, why? What do you think I want it to be longer? Do you think I want this to take up more of my time? No, but like that's what I've always loved about magazines, and I am a true lover of magazines. Is I've always loved that because the advertiser has to really put a lot of thought into a 1-page or a half-page ad in a magazine. They're sometimes really interesting. Like in a magazine, you often like looking at the ads. You're still looking at them because it's like, here's a pretty RV. It's cool. Okay. What do they do? Oh, that's interesting. And you move on, but you're consuming it at your own pace as opposed to it interrupting something that you're watching on TV. And you're like, I have to, when can I press the skip button? Now we put this skip button in, and now that's forcing me to watch it instead of getting up and going out of the room to go pee or whatever. Now I'm watching it so I can wait to that last second so I can press the skip button right when I'm going to want to press the skip button. Meanwhile, I was advertised to. I think that's a really interesting value proposition for a magazine to me is that I get to sort of consume the ads at my own pace.
Yeah, and it's not disruptive, to your point.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
you know, even if someone wants to so-called skip the ad in a magazine, if the ad's done right, you know, they've already basically been branded a little. I think the idea that, you know, people need to interact with ads in any way, shape, or form, I think is really tough for the medium. And the same thing I always say with billboards. Why don't billboards have QR codes, you know? Because it sounds really stupid to be trying to drive and get that QR code. When I see QR codes on the back of a truck or a bus, I'm like, I get that maybe there's a passenger, but come on. Like,
that's been going on forever too, though. But even before QR codes, when there's a phone number on a billboard on the interstate, I'm like, what? Who's remembering this phone number? Who's writing this phone number down?
Exactly.
It's not happening.
Yeah, no, I agree. But then they're like, well, the billboard didn't do well because, you know, that's the hard part. I think that's, you know, just a side note that I think that's actually ruined marketing. It was this idea that you can track marketing. I really, and for how the RV space does that when they're not selling direct. And here's just something that's just so odd to me is the companies that sell a product under $500. I actually have one company that sells their average sales around 75. They just signed up for 2 years because they handle everything from soup to nuts. So if they want to track it, they can because they're the ones selling it. And I also had another brand, and I know SnapPad wouldn't mind me talking about this, I'll say it, but SnapPad was tracking based on QR scans, or if you use an RV today, you know, coupon or something, and saying, you know, it's not working as well as we'd want. And then a year later, they do a survey. How did you hear about us? And we were the number 3. But from an ROI, if we're your 3 behind Facebook and Google, those are, you know, tough to crack. So we cracked some other socials. We were your 3rd, but you haven't paid us in a year. This is all people just, you know, finding old publications and reading it, kind of a thing. And that's really opened their eyes. And then they jumped on for a couple of years because it was like the returns there. It's the tracking that I think is really killed everyone. And the other side of it too is I think marketers are trying to tell the influencer or the content creator what to say and do. And a lot of them don't know how to push back and say, look, I know my audience. If I say what you want me to say because you don't RV and that doesn't sound like something an RVer would say, it's actually going to hurt the ad. And, you know, like with me, I push back when they're trying to sell the lifestyle in their ad. I'm like, the other 75 pages of my 100-page magazine are selling the lifestyle. Your ad should just show them your product. That's all it is.
Sell the lifestyle if you're in a completely different magazine. You're in Consumer Reports or something. Sell the lifestyle there.
Harvest Host is a membership that allows RVers to take a rest from the road and enjoy unlimited overnight stays at over 5,100 unique locations in North America, like breweries, farms, attractions, wineries, and much more. Easily plan and book your next RV trip and enjoy over $1,500 in exclusive member benefits by joining Harvest Host. Get 15% off your first year of membership with the code MILES. That's MILES. Go to harvesthost.com to become a Harvest Host member today.
RV Miles is sponsored by RVPostings.com, your go-to platform for buying and selling RVs. Explore a wide range of RVs from small pop-up campers to large diesel pushers. Find the perfect fit for your travel needs. With their user-friendly interface, you can easily navigate through their website for a seamless RV shopping experience. You can get comprehensive information about each RV, including photos, features, details, and pricing, and connect with sellers directly. No middlemen. And if you're selling your RV, you can list it on RVPostings.com and reach a targeted audience of RV buyers, ditching the tire kickers and the repetitive "is this still available" messages. It's a paid but affordable platform for sellers to post RVs for sale, so buyers can be sure that the seller is real and serious about selling. Whether you're buying or selling, RVPostings.com connects RV enthusiasts across the country. Get eyes on your RV with their Facebook buy and sell group with 163 3,000 members. All RVs posted on their website are posted to the group, as well as other sites like Oodle, Class, and American Listed. Whether you're buying or selling, start your journey at rvpostings.com.
This is great and interesting, and we're talking about marketing a lot, but we're an RV podcast, so let's talk a little bit about RVs. And you and I have been able to go to some of these events where they show all the new stuff. They're showing them for dealers or the general public at places like the Hershey RV show. So we've seen a lot of the new stuff that's happened this year. And Abby and I talked about a lot of what my takes from, the dealer open house were on a few episodes back. But I'd love to talk to you about some of your takes on some of the trends that you've been seeing in the RV industry. Obviously, it's been a tumultuous time between the pandemic boom and the subsequent bust. And now there's sort of this, I don't know if you'd categorize it the same as I would. I feel like there's a renewed interest this year in RV manufacturers trying to show themselves in a different light from other RV manufacturers, whether that's we've got this cool new floor plan, ours look a little bit different or whatever it is. They're trying to separate from the pack a little bit, where in the past it was just kind of sell, sell, sell.
No, I agree. I think, it was weird. One of my biggest takeaways from this year's open house, the big dealer show in Elkhart, is that how much the dealers influence the manufacturers on what they're saying the consumers want. Mm-hmm. And so then what manufacturers are having to do is build kind of units that they think the dealers would want based on kind of what their consumers are saying. And I think you and I talked about this, with double sinks in an RV. I could see a consumer maybe a consumer that hasn't RV'd yet really want that in their home. So when they talk about it in RV, but the practicality of it in an RV, whether you're a family of 5 RVing or just a couple, I don't think it's what they think it is once they start RVing. And one of the ones I always go back to, because it was really when I got my rig in 2017 and I went boondocking right by a lake, and I went in the water all the time. And I was like, oh, that's right, there's an outdoor shower. It's on the back side of the RV. So I literally rinse all off, and then I'd get dirty walking around my RV. And then there was a time where in Lake Mead, I stayed at a campground, and I literally was showering in the other people's living room window because I'm on the back side of the RV. That was that kind of aha moment where I was like, okay, clearly the dealers and manufacturers don't RV, because someone would say, it'd be really great if this outside shower was right by the front door where we could just put a mat, we could rinse off all the grime off of us and then go right into our RV. So I always use that. Now, that is happening. There are some RV companies that are now either putting 1 or 2. I think a lot of this stuff goes back to that old analogy of why do we cut the ham in half in great grandma's recipe, and you find out it's because great grandma had a really small oven, so it made sense then, but it doesn't make sense today. Maybe the cost of running, more piping from where all the water stuff is to the front just didn't make sense. But when you see all the piping, for the washer and dryer going there that, I don't even know what the stat is. It's 80% of people don't put a washer and dryer, but it's got all that piping for it. It doesn't make sense today that it's on the backside at all. And that's something I always talk about, is that's where you really find out who's listening to the consumers. And then maybe even consumers don't even realize to think to ask it, because they've already said that's a pain in the butt to go back there.
Yeah, it's just trying to check a list off, a bunch of boxes that are must have outdoor shower, must have solar, must have outdoor kitchen. It doesn't matter where we've put those things or the size of them or the quality of them. It's just we want them to be able to, when they go to a website and that's searching for RV floor plans, or they go to a dealership, tick off the boxes and be like, this one has everything that you asked for.
True. I think, too, that a lot of these things that they think are staples and must-haves, I do like that we're seeing less and less.
Yeah.
I don't think really anybody needs a DVD player. I think the ability to hook one up if I want one, great. But I don't need this like large, expensive outside surround sound.
Yeah.
I always tell a story when I was first RVing and I was listening to Game of Thrones and I didn't realize that it was on the speakers. And it was like during a scene that it probably sounded pretty pornographic. And I'm at a campground blasting that out, having no idea that that's my outside speakers.
Buddy, I've been in a campground where I heard the real deal over some outdoor speakers and a really nice, expensive RV resort and very loudly. And you know, that it to me, the thing too with those is like the worst thing that can happen to an RV is leaks. So you want to cut a couple more holes in the side for some, you know, cheap speakers that sound terrible and are pointed, you know, across the campground and not down at you, when you could have a Bluetooth speaker. Now, we all didn't have Bluetooth speakers 15, 20 years ago. We weren't all carrying them around and stuff. And now it's really easy to go get one and you're going to have really great quality from it. So some of it is, I think, technology changing things, but the industry is often a little slow. But there are still people out there that are telling their dealers, oh man, I want some outdoor speakers.
And then you get to a campground and you realize just what kind of a move that is to be blasting your music. That's great that you enjoy it. I noticed that when I was first hiking on trails, I would see people with the Bluetooth and they're playing their music while hiking. I know some people say that's, you know, to rid bears, but now I see people with pods, which I think is actually crazy to have both pods noise canceling on a trail, because now you're not hearing the bear at all, kind of a thing. But you're right. Technology catches up. It's slow, but these are things that I think I wouldn't mind paying to have added on. I will assume that most people don't shower outside, that most people, that's just not an issue. So do we need that at all? Probably not. I'd say most people probably don't use speakers outside. Most people don't use a television outside. I know there's a lot of people that are like, why would I buy this unit? I'm not going to watch TV outside. And that's where I don't think they do a good job of having like the options that you can add on, kind of a thing. And
yeah, they think they have like, there's the person that wants the outdoor TV and maybe that's 20% of people. So they're thinking, well, we're losing 20% of our sales if we don't put the outdoor TV on. But they're not considering that might be turning away people too.
No,
so,
without a doubt.
And you know, now that we can sit outside with the laptop, and look, I'd love an outdoor TV. I like an outdoor shower, not because I'm going to shower outside, but I have something to rinse with, right? You know, something to rinse something dirty off with that I've had to clean outside. Like it's not a shower, but a hose connection. So now we're seeing a lot more hose connections instead of a shower, which is great. You got a little sprayer that you can use as a shower if you want to. And I think you're right. There's this element of dealers. There's this telephone game going on from people walking the dealer lots and saying, I want this, I like that. That's the thing they said out loud. So that's the thing that gets conveyed to the manufacturer when, you know, they're buying units at something like an open house. But it's not necessarily the most important thing. It's not necessarily the thing they cared about the most. Maybe they were just like, wow, that's cool. It's got double sinks, because that's a thing that you see and you're like, wow, I can't believe that's in an RV. Did that really influence the buying of that unit or not? Probably not, right?
It's funny, the things that I think that would influence me today in buying an RV, it's so much different than what I kind of knew in 2016 when I started the process looking, is I think I would take a look at the things that I don't use. You know, I don't need a 4-5 burner stove. I would much rather just have a 2 burner. I just noticed through the years
counter space. Yeah.
Yes, the counter space minus I don't have 5 pots going on. Even when I've cooked Thanksgiving, I didn't have that. So it's again someone not talking and hearing. I think most consumers would say they would like just a 2 burner and have more counter space. There's just that kind of stuff. You know, for me, all the like electronics really, I'm okay with not having that stuff. If I want to add a DVD player to my television, it's pretty easy to do. And that's the kind of stuff that is just odd that that's not more of an option. But I do agree that like even as simple as a hose in the front, when we stay at Magnolia Beach, It's really nice just to rinse my feet off before I go in the rig. Like, and I don't have a pet, but I have to assume that's really great when you have a dog that's been running around in the dirt, in the sand all day. And, I mean, it's no different than like campground reviews. And I know we've talked about this, like where people get really upset and they give it a crappy review because it had a crappy dog park, where I'm like, I don't have a dog. Like, what do I care if the dog park's crappy? Kind of a thing. And it's the same way I see the RV space. It's not like they're really doing the data and asking, like, how many people have used your outside shower? Could we get rid of those? And people would probably tell you, yeah, get rid of it.
Is there anything that you've seen this year that sort of exemplifies a move away from that? Is there anything that really excited you?
I mean, I know that there's these units that they're kind of like taking a lot of this expense out, like where they don't even ship with televisions anymore. And I don't know. I haven't really put my finger if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Probably the biggest trend that I've seen even last year and this year, which seems so like far from the trend, is there are a lot more like office type setups now. And whether it's a dining area that's becoming office. And to me, I was like, I feel like people were screaming for that all through, like leading up to COVID and then obviously during COVID. But I've always said, if I was a weekender, the one thing that kind of has always stuck out at me is that the bedroom is only being used 8 hours a day. And I like, that's the shift I like seeing, is where now they're starting to think through like, multi-use in situations in different rooms. And, I think we saw that in the toy haulers where they, years ago put these lift beds in so you could bring your toys in, take it out, and now it can actually be used. That's the one trend that I'm really excited about, that, whether you want to put bikes there, or you want to put kayaks there, or you want to put bunk beds there, like, I think that's an interesting concept that I can't believe it's taken to 2024 to see a lot of that. And the other thing I've always talked about, I mean, obviously I built, I ripped out a couch and built a really nice office for myself. And, because they just didn't have that. I didn't need seating for 9 for the two of us, like I was okay with getting rid of one of the couches. But for me, it's the fact that, I'm RVing. And again, this is a little different than full-time. But if I'm a weekender, I'm RVing to be outside. I'm RVing to be camping, but with a lot of the comforts of home. But in most of these RVs, I couldn't even tell you where I was based on how like closed up they are. And the one thing I do like seeing now finally is that they're trying to incorporate the outsides more in the rig, bigger windows, windows that don't have shades, these pop down slides on non-toy haulers is something I think you and I have been talking about for years, that I just have never, I don't need to take a golf cart, but
right.
I would love to have, I would love to have a deck that, because that is, it's not something, I'm not boomer yet where it's get out of my sight, but it is nice to just have, a place that's yours, your chairs, your things. If someone's pet's off leash and poops, you're not going to step in it because it's your patio. There is something really nice to that. And, not that there's a big theft issue in this space, but it's nice to know that your barbecue and your chairs are up on a patio. And we all know if someone got on the patio in the middle of the night, we're going to feel that a little, kind of a thing. So I do like seeing that a lot. And, even when you and I were sitting in some of these destination trailers that, is it a fifth wheel? Is it a destination trailer? What is it? Some of the windows setups were amazing. I also would probably be looking for not only that, where the outdoors is in, and there's a way to, like, even if I'm not a guy that gets freaked out by bugs or in an area that doesn't have a lot, if I want to have all that natural wind coming through. I love that we're seeing, pop-up windows and slides. Like I said, I'm a big sectional couch guy. Like that is probably a checkbox that I have to have for my size to be able to actually, recline, and not in a recliner. Recliners don't work for guys over 6'6",
oh, really?
You're just hanging. It's like there, and it just becomes a pinch, and then you have to put your feet up And then it's like I'm in a squatty potty. Look, I'm not asking you to feel sorry for me that I'm 6'6". I know
The world's
but
tough
trust
for
me,
you. I know.
when you stop playing basketball, being tall is useless. It makes no sense. Maybe if I was a bouncer, it'd be great. But outside of that, so I do really like that trend. I really do like
Yeah.
that we're seeing the outside become in. I think you and I were on one where, again, it was like, wait, the only way to get to the deck, this massive deck, is you have to like come through the unit. Like there's really no stairs coming off of this big deck where
Yeah.
it had seating for like 15 and a 60-inch TV. And it's just one of those moments where you're like,
Yeah.
has anyone just thought about that? That you
Yeah,
might
I grew
want
up in
other
the age
campers.
I grew up in the age where, grandparents were like, you'd go camping with them, they'd have their RV and you'd be staying in the tent. You were not allowed in that RV except for very specific, you're going to the bathroom or something like that. And even then, if you could go outside. And so like, it's like if you have a pool, you don't want people walking from your basement upstairs to use the restroom with their wet pool feet. You want to have like a restroom near your pool. You want to have easy access. You want people to walk around your house and never have to go through your house to get to your pool if you have them over. And yeah, so these big decks that people have to like traipse in and out of. It was really wild. And we all say this. All of us RVers say, do the people that design these use them? And I think more and more it is true that they are. It used to be the case that hardly any were. And I think a lot more are, and a lot more are listening. But as they keep trying all these new things, which is great, there's going to be some stuff that just kind of makes you scratch your head. Like what's Arsenio Hall makes you go,
The first RVs that I saw were when the slides come in and you don't have access to the bathroom anymore.
Yeah.
I was like, whoever designed that has never traveled and just want to pull over to rest stop and not use the rest stop bathrooms. They just want to be able to use their own. And then you're like, or, if you did want to do some lot docking, the last thing you want to do is pull your slides out. If you can't get access to a bathroom in the bedroom just for an overnight at a rest stop or, lot docking, I don't think someone's done that. And you see the immediate pushback. Like the RVers are like, wait a minute, when this slides in, I can't access the fridge. And I think people take it, manufacturers take it, well, why would you want to access it?
Yeah.
If you're at a campsite, open it. And to your point about, it really does look like a lot of the RVs are built by people that don't RV. I find the same thing with campgrounds. Like, I think they've hired some really great, park designer, but I don't think that person's ever really been like, why would you put this here? Why are the utilities this far back where now I have to go get an extension cord, or why did you make it such a sharp turn where you could have easily just angled and we all got the same view, but it had been so much easier to back in.
Oh, have you ever been to one of those campgrounds where like every single site it's at a right angle to the road? It's not angled at all. It's like impossible to, it's a 1-lane road. It's impossible to back up into.
And, it's so weird when you angle them that way. I don't think you lose spots, but I think you get more of an open area where you're just not staring at your neighbor's sewer, know? And it's just, I'm just like, I don't get it, especially with pull-throughs. I've never understood why more pull-throughs aren't going back to back with all the utilities in the middle between the two backs of the RV. And we both have a view that's not someone else's sewer. And, obviously your view would be someone else's front, but even that is so much nicer. And I guarantee you it's the same amount of RVs. It's just someone hasn't taken the time to say, and I know it's not unique to me. I know there's RVers that listening right now have said they could build a better RV and they could build a better campsite. 1,000%.
It's harder than people think it is too. Like, I'm certain that when you get into like designing these things, you're like, oh, maybe that's why they did that thing. It's still not great and let's find a way around it. But there are reasons that some of these things happen. And, it's me wanting that double sink that causes this RV to have, a slide that closes in front of the bathroom.
No, I agree.
Well, this has been great. It's great to have you on the show. It is time now, though, to transition into a lot of people's favorite part of the show, our Fresh Tank, Black Tank segment, where we talk about, the good things and the bad things happening in our lives or in the RV industry or whatever it might be. This is always sponsored by our friends over at Liquefied RV Toilet Treatment, the no BS toilet treatment. You can find it on Amazon or at liquefiedrv.com. Put a link in the description. So, Demian, what is your black tank for this week?
Wow. So we used to do these with my family, the high lows. I love the way that you've named them. I'll say I've been doing a lot of traveling, airplane and rentals and hotels. And I absolutely hate it. Like, it's the worst way to travel. And I don't know how people get all excited about it. And again, because of my height, not because, I don't even drink and I don't check a bag. So first class makes no sense. And the only reason I do it is because of my height. And now that I'm in my 50s buying first class, if I took photos, you would have thought I was in Coach in the 80s. It's just not the same experience anymore. And it's I feel like I'm living in Elkhart County and then here in Oklahoma on the ranch. And it's like I'm living out of a suitcase. And I'm kind of really, really over it for sure. And trying to figure out how to, if I can incorporate a smaller unit that allows me to travel, because it really is a 2-day trip. It's, it's pretty close to 12 hours. So you don't really want to do that in one leg. The other idea is to just create a home base there too. So at least I'm not renting a car and staying in a hotel. Luckily, that was part of why I bought in Oklahoma with kids in New York and kids in LA. And it looks like I was some rock star that, ended up having kids on both sides of the coast. All my kids were born in California. 2 have moved to New York. Oklahoma was perfect for that, and, going back to why I started RVing, I did end up doing what I started out to do. It wasn't Texas. I ended up buying 240 acres in Oklahoma. And, 3 years fast forward, I really wish I would have purchased 240 acres in South Michigan, and have both lifestyles right there. So that's just something I'm working through in my black tank right now is, this hybrid life that I'm just not enjoying as much as I thought I would.
What is in your fresh tank this week?
It's funny. I had a sales guy that just abruptly quit. And he was doing really good. And so that sounds black tank-ishy, but it's got me back into sales. And I really enjoy the conversations. It's probably not the best thing to be the publisher of the magazine and also selling the magazine. It's so funny. There's only a few publishers that we know by name, and most of them, either own Playboy or Hustler. I feel like we can't name another publisher. So for me, I bet you they look at those two and like, they're not out doing the sales. But wow, I really enjoy it. I really enjoy meeting with people and then people figuring out that this works for them. You would think I wouldn't, that a lot of people, they hate sales. I really enjoy the relationship part of it. But that's a little bit going back to the black tank. I think this industry, it's still so face to face. Like you literally have to be there meeting with them and talking to them. And, but I'm really enjoying getting back into it. I probably will hire someone that'll work out of the Elkhart area at some point, but for now, at least through the holidays and into next year a little, I'll do it. And I like being back in the saddle and having those conversations for sure.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, my black tank this week is, as I said, it was going to relate to what we were talking about earlier. And this really doesn't have a lot to do with RVing, but it has a lot to do with social media and advertising and the way that we all sort of get our news and information. There's some staggering stat about the amount of people that now use TikTok as their primary source of news. That's just wild to me. But Abby's been gone for a few days, right?
Right.
So I have been watching just a ton of reels. There's like nobody to talk to. So I'm watching a bunch of, I usually watch reels on Facebook instead of TikTok. Same thing, right?
Right.
So I come across this one. I'm starting to get into like some of these like interior design ones. I'm thinking about, we're talking about buying a house eventually and stuff. And
Nice.
I keep getting like some of these, home building ones, interior design ones. And this guy's in this like high end custom kitchen, and he's like showing off the end of the island. The whole thing is that islands now have these really beautiful ends to them that are sort of like a focal point, a feature. Like they might be a different color, or they might have some sort of stone finish or something like. And he's like, you know what trend is out? Outlets on the end of your island. You're never going to see an outlet on the end of my island anymore. That trend is gone. We don't want outlets on the end of your island. What we've done here is we've put it there. They literally, there's like two drawer faces on the island, and they've made one where it folds down and it's got outlets in it. All the comments are like, so you're saying when I've got something plugged in, I'm going to be ramming my thigh onto a drawer face all the time. And people arguing about like why, of course, like the functionality of an outlet on your island is, I think, pretty well known, especially in this day of wanting to charge your laptop or your phone or whatever. So first I had this like total negative reaction to this guy. And then I'm watching more and more of these reels, and I come across one that's talking about a change in the National Electric Code, where outlets aren't allowed under the edge of a countertop on an island anymore. So it actually wasn't a trend that this guy was pointing out. It's the law that you can't put an outlet under the edge of a countertop anymore. And the reason was like kids would come and they would, yank on the cord or something, and they'd pull a crock pot off the countertop onto them. So I dug into like this deep rabbit hole of this totally inadvertently. And I there are things that I love about this and things that I hate about this, but it goes even further because the National Electric Code changed. And it was a safety reason that they don't want to put outlets under the countertop lip on the end of an island in your kitchen anymore. But the whole reason that outlets were mandated by the National Electric Code on islands is because people were stringing a cord across from their countertop across the way over to their island, and that was causing a safety hazard. So it's like it was like this whole series of like influencers influencing and then governmenting, and like I just dug down this rabbit hole of why outlets are where they are on islands, and I kind of hate myself for that and hate the world for that.
Without a doubt.
It's like, could you just give me this straight dope in a magazine? That'd be great.
Well, I always say too, on these things, like, let's thin the herd. We can't protect everyone from everything, and we can't make a law to protect everyone from everything.
I'm just as guilty as anybody else in knocking things over and causing fires, whatever. My fresh tank is that I am now an official. I'm going to grab it for the folks that are watching on video. I am now an official carrier of a purse.
It's a satchel.
You got to witness this firsthand.
Indiana Jones had one.
I actually bought this to take to Elkhart. So I had only owned it a few days after I saw you last, or a few days before I saw you last. And I got it because I'm like, well, I'm going to be going around all these RVs, and I hate carrying my big backpack with all this stuff in it. And I just want to have my phone to take video and photos, and I want to have a small notepad to write on. I want to have a pen. I want to have my car keys. I want to have my wallet. I don't want to carry them all in my pockets because that pulls my pants down. I don't want to have it all in my hands. I don't want to carry a backpack around. So I'm going to get a man bag and
a merce.
Y'all, women have had this down. Like I didn't know what I was missing. It's so great, especially in the age of wireless key fobs where you press the button to start your vehicle, right? You've got the key fob and it's just in your bag. Right. So you don't have to have it attached also to your house keys, and your house keys in your pocket with the key fob and everything all together, weighing down your pocket and pulling your pants down and showing your butt crack. You just have it in your bag, and when your bag's with you, your car starts, and when it's not, it doesn't. And if you can't get into your car, hey, I forgot my bag. I better go back and get it. And I've got everything I need with me all the time, and I don't feel weighed down. I feel like I don't have all this stuff in my pants all the time. My phone weighs like 10 pounds, the iPhone Pro Max, And it feels great to just be able to throw that over my shoulder. I love it. I love it. This one is from Waterfield, made in San Francisco. It has a magnetic flap over the top, and it's got, you know, a lot of people listening on audio can't see this. It's got little slots for your stuff. It's perfect. Love it.
Now, I will say, if you don't want to immerse, I have a sling bag. I was in the same thing. I just wanted a small bag that I can access my stuff. And it was more of, you know, like I can put everything in my suitcase and just put that above. And then, but the more I use it, and the fact that I can put a couple magazines in it too, if I'm ready to hand them out.
Yeah.
I don't put my laptop in. I'm not trying to carry a big backpack. It's been a game changer for all the reasons that you've mentioned. You know, I'm at that age where, you know, I have to do I have my keys? Do I have my phone? Do I have my wallet? Is my zipper up? You know, do I have my reading glasses?
You're at the age where you've learned that, right? We've always been at that age, but you finally learned. That's part of becoming a middle-aged adult, is you're like, now I finally learned that I could have a 3-second process to remember I have all my stuff.
Right. And for me, what's, you know, like I'm with you that in my pockets used to be a wallet, keys, phone, even a knife. I mean, I have a knife with me on the ranch. I mean, I probably have a knife with me always when I travel if I check my bags. But you're right. I don't think I actually sagged my pants until I got a cell phone. And then I think it's just, you know, because I had that big brick phone, and now it's been something I've done forever.
Well, it frees you from wanting to take the laptop with you, right? Like I don't need, I've just gotten to the point, you know, now that we have this office and stuff, that sometimes I just leave the laptop at the office, and it kind of blows my mind that I can do that.
Right.
And you even going out hiking on a trail, I just carry this small bag and throw a granola bar in it or something. Yep. And not think I need like 14 pieces of gear to hike a trail for 3 hours. Right. You know, that my kid's going to do in his sandals with gym shorts on. It's really freeing to be able to say, I'm carrying, you know, just this small amount of stuff. I have this room for it. I can carry as much as I want, as long as it can fit into this little bag.
But I think even with that, I don't think we'll ever get to what women, especially mothers, can do with their purses. Like,
it's incredible. Yeah.
You can just ask, do you have like non-drowsy Tylenol? Mm-hmm. Hold on, and they pull that out. Do you have an umbrella? That's in there. Like, I'll just never, I don't know how they do it.
And they get right to it. Like whenever they ask you to go, like, can you go get me my lip balm out of my purse? And you're like an hour into it.
Oh, bro, I just bring the purse, right, and it still weirds people out. Where it's like, why didn't you just go through? Not going through it. Not going to do it. Going to end up tasing myself.
Yeah, but they do it. They get it all done. They got especially mothers. You're right, because they've got all the stuff for the kids with them, and yeah, it's incredible.
Without a doubt.
Well, Demian, thanks so much for being here. Demian, of course, again, is the publisher of RV Today magazine. Demian, tell us where you can find RV Today magazine.
Yeah, just go to rvtoday.com. You can pick up a lifetime digital. It's a one-time fee, and you'll receive the digital. You get back issues to, obviously, any RV Today digital. You'll get back issues to all the Rootless Living. You'll get back issues to RV Camping magazine that we purchased in 2023. All of that's available. And look, if you have a library card, there's a good chance you can read the magazine for free. You think I would mention that. You think I'm just about selling you stuff. But no, if you want the digital, if you want the print, if you want to hold the magazine in hand, you can go to rvtoday.com as well and pick it up there. You know, no pressure. You know, but it's 100 pages, full gloss, perfect bound, none of that saddle stitch stuff. This is it's a pretty quality publication. We're super proud of what we've been able to accomplish in the last 3 years. We just celebrated our 3rd year anniversary, and we're about to hit issue number 25, and we're excited about that as well.
Well, thanks so much for being here. And it is a fantastic magazine. Congratulations on everything that's happened with it, because it is a really valuable resource. Thanks so much for filling in for Abby and being my co-host today. I don't know if we've ever done this before. She appreciates it, I know. So thanks so much for being here. And thank you, everybody listening, for being here. If you want more podcasts like this, subscribe to the YouTube channel or subscribe on your podcast app, and make sure to check out our mile marker subscription if you're interested in supporting us a little bit more. You can go over to rvmiles.com/mile markers, and you can learn about our paid community where you get a few extra things like our bonus detour episodes and more. How does she end this? She always does this.
Well, real quick too, if you become a mile marker, you will get RV Today Digital for free. So
that's true.
Think about doing that. Instead of subscribing for the digital through me, become a mile marker. I'll end it for you, Jason. Jason, I think what you and Abby do to have just, news that's out there. I mean, I'm an avid watcher of your show. I'm constantly messaging you after I watch something or learn something. And it's one of the reasons RV Today hasn't thought about getting into like the daily, weekly news cycle, because you guys are doing such a great job. I don't think everything always needs a bunch of competitors. I'll do the evergreen stuff. You do the stuff that people need to know now. And it's a great partnership. So, I'm stoked on your podcast, stoked on your videos. And to be fair, really quick, when I got the message, I thought it was that you couldn't be here and I was going to be co-hosting with Abby. That's why I said yes so fast. And then I got a message from her and I was like, oh, I read that wrong. But okay, I'll hang out with Jason.
Thanks a lot, Damian. Thanks a lot for being here, everybody. We'll see you next time. Keep logging those RV miles. Bye-bye.